Hello. So today I'm really excited. It's day 20 of the honey advent, and I am sharing the honey of a couple that I am proud to say are friends of mine. And it is Kaimai range honey from New Zealand. So Jodie and Ralph Mitchell have a family business. Their daughter and son-in-law are now beekeepers with the family business, and grandchild even starting to beekeep. And Jodie and Ralph are the most awarded honey company in New Zealand. So, I mean, that's amazing. Now, of course, they have Manuka honey. They've got about 1,000 beehives. But what is extraordinary is Jodie and Ralph are real advocates for the varieties of honey that you can get only in New Zealand. So, really unique plants that produce unique honeys. And what's really highlighted this and has been quite a challenge for Jodie and Ralph is that some of the plants in New Zealand evolved, in fact, many of the plants evolved in New Zealand before honeybees were there. And so the pollination is predominantly done by birds and moths and beetles. And so you have flowers that have evolved to attract those insects and birds to pollinate them. And this really sort of showed up as a problem on the international honey scene in 2019 at Appomondia in Montreal, where honey was entered for the World Honey Awards. And I'm not sure if it was the first time, but it was the first time it really got highlighted, was that honeys that were entered were disqualified if they couldn't prove that they had sufficient pollen in them. Now, a lot of people get confused about what actually makes honey, and it is actually the nectar from plants that produces the honey. So the bees collect the nectar, they take it back to the hive, they add their enzymes, they evaporate it, and then it becomes honey. But you do a pollen analysis on honey to show that it's a real honey, because when the bees go in and extract the nectar, what will happen is they will pick up bits of pollen on their bodies. And this is how pollination works. So the honeybees go in, they're accidentally getting covered in pollen, which they then take from flower to flower, which helps pollination. But if you have a flower that doesn't depend on honeybees, it depends on moths, then it will put the anthers somewhere else. So what happens is the bees can access the nectaries without picking up the pollen. So then you get a honey which doesn't have much or any pollen in it. So this is really unique. And Jodie has had to really fight to get this understood in the global honey sort of analysis world, because pollen analysis was like the gold standard, was the main way of proving that a honey was authentic. And what happened in 2019 was 46% of the honeys that were entered into the Global Honey Awards were discounted, disqualified, and labeled as adulterated. Now, Jodie and Ralph, they knew their honey wasn't adulterated. They absolutely knew that, along with many other honey producers who were producing honey from remote or unrecorded parts of the world where the pollen or the nectar wasn't on a DNA database, and so there was no proof that it was honey other than the word of the beekeeper. So Jodie is a real trailblazer and has been fighting to get their honeys recognized. And it is changing the world, and people are now understanding it. So her Tawari honey was actually in the Global Honey Bar at Appomondia, and I am lucky enough to have a jar of this honey. And hello, Claire. Hi. Um, so this is just an extraordinary honey. And so I've just been sharing about Tawari honey and why it's unique. So you can go back and watch the recording for that. But now I'm on to the tasting. So the Tawari tree, it's very unique. It's only found in certain mountainous areas in the North Island of New Zealand. So that's why Kaimai range are unique in producing this honey. And the trees had evolved to be pollinated not by bees, but by beetles, by moths, by birds. And so that's why you don't have much pollen or any pollen in the actual honey. It is pure nectar honey. So I don't know if you can see, it's a beautiful light cream color. This one has slightly crystallized and it's a very delicate aroma. I mean, hardly any aroma at all. And if anything, it's slightly lactic. So it is that sort of cream. And then when you taste it, mm, so you have a creamy, lactic, beautiful, smooth honey, and then just a little hint of butterscotch, sort of the sweetness, but yeah, butterscotch is the overwhelming thing. And oh, mm. Now interestingly, I have been making marzipan this morning, following Claire's recommendation, making it with honey. So it's the first time I've ever made marzipan with honey. And actually, the aftertaste of this is the almonds. You can actually get an almond aftertaste with this honey. So it's a butterscotch note. It's really lactic, really cream, and actually maybe even white chocolate. It's that sort of lactic and creamy, but beautiful. And then with this almond aftertaste. So really, really interesting honey. Mm. And out of the jars that Jodie and Ralph gave us, this one is the one that we keep dipping into. So I had to hide it because it was at risk of being used too often on toast by Mr. Carnell. So I really wanted to share it in this honey. And it's actually won the People's Choice Honey of New Zealand. And it's won so many awards. And, you know, as I said earlier, Jodie and Ralph are the most awarded honey company in New Zealand. So it's really exciting that we do actually have Jodie in this community. She's a bit shy, but I'm sure once she gets going, she has got so much information to share with us all. And it would be really good to, to have Jodie on a live at some point. You can actually find an interview that I did with her on my podcast, and that's in the honey interviews, in the courses, in the membership. So just have a look. So there we go. Kaimai range, and it's an organically produced raw honey. I mean, just you can't get much better than this. Amazing, amazing honey. So thank you very much. And until tomorrow, that's our day 20 honey advent.